You're being paid 20% less than your colleague for the same job, but why? The answer will surprise you. You're not alone in feeling underpaid. Millions of people worldwide are experiencing salary gaps, but what's causing this phenomenon? Is it a lack of skills or experience? Or is it something more sinister? Research suggests that it's not just about individual performance, but also about the biases and assumptions that underlie our salary systems. You see, our brains are wired to make quick decisions, often based on incomplete information. This can lead to a phenomenon called anchoring bias, where our initial impressions influence our subsequent decisions. In the context of salary negotiations, this can have devastating consequences. So, what can you do to avoid being anchored to a lower salary? The answer lies in understanding the psychology of salary negotiations. By recognizing the biases and assumptions that underlie our salary systems, you can begin to challenge them and negotiate a fairer salary. But first, let's explore the myth of meritocracy and how it's contributing to salary gaps. We've all been told that hard work and talent are the keys to success, but is this really true? The concept of meritocracy suggests that those who work hardest and are most talented will be rewarded with higher salaries and better opportunities. However, research suggests that this isn't always the case. In fact, studies have shown that factors such as privilege, bias, and luck can play a much bigger role in determining our salaries than we think. So, what does this mean for you? It means that you need to be aware of the biases and assumptions that are influencing your salary negotiations. By recognizing the role of privilege and luck, you can begin to level the playing field and negotiate a fairer salary. But how do you do this? One strategy is to focus on the value you bring to your employer, rather than just your individual performance. By emphasizing your contributions to the organization, you can begin to shift the focus away from biases and assumptions and towards a more objective assessment of your worth. But what about the power of perception? How do our perceptions of ourselves and others influence our salary negotiations? Our perceptions of ourselves and others can have a profound impact on our salary negotiations. Research has shown that people who perceive themselves as more confident and competent tend to negotiate higher salaries. But what about those who are more introverted or self-effacing? How can they negotiate a fair salary without feeling like they're being pushy or aggressive? The answer lies in understanding the psychology of perception. By recognizing how our perceptions influence our behavior, we can begin to challenge and change them. One strategy is to practice self-compassion and self-confidence. By being kinder to ourselves and recognizing our strengths, we can begin to project a more confident and competent image to others. But what about the role of negotiation strategies? How can you use these to bridge the salary gap? Negotiation is a crucial part of salary discussions, but it's often neglected or misunderstood. Many people assume that negotiation is about being aggressive or pushy, but this isn't necessarily true. In fact, research suggests that a more collaborative and empathetic approach can be much more effective. By focusing on the needs and interests of both parties, you can begin to build a more constructive and mutually beneficial conversation. One strategy is to use open-ended questions to explore the other person's perspective. By asking questions like "What are your goals and priorities?" or "How do you see this salary fitting into the overall budget?" you can begin to gain a deeper understanding of their needs and interests. But what about overcoming bias? How can you ensure that your salary negotiations are free from bias and assumptions? Bias and assumptions can be major obstacles in salary negotiations, but they can also be overcome. One strategy is to use data and evidence to support your arguments. By citing research and statistics, you can begin to build a more objective and convincing case for your salary. Another strategy is to seek out diverse perspectives and opinions. By talking to people from different backgrounds and industries, you can begin to gain a more nuanced and informed understanding of the salary landscape. But what about the role of privilege and luck? How can you acknowledge and address these factors in your salary negotiations? Privilege and luck can play a significant role in determining our salaries, but they're often overlooked or ignored. By acknowledging and addressing these factors, you can begin to level the playing field and negotiate a fairer salary. One strategy is to recognize the role of privilege in your own life and career. By acknowledging the advantages and opportunities you've had, you can begin to appreciate the challenges and obstacles faced by others. Another strategy is to focus on the value you bring to your employer, rather than just your individual performance. By emphasizing your contributions to the organization, you can begin to shift the focus away from biases and assumptions and towards a more objective assessment of your worth. But what about the impact of salary gaps on our well-being and happiness? Salary gaps can have a profound impact on our well-being and happiness, but they're often overlooked or ignored. By recognizing the human cost of salary gaps, you can begin to appreciate the importance of fair and equitable compensation. One strategy is to focus on the emotional and psychological benefits of fair salaries. By recognizing the role of salary in our overall well-being, you can begin to make a more compelling case for fair and equitable compensation. Another strategy is to seek out supportive communities and networks. By talking to people who share your experiences and challenges, you can begin to gain a more nuanced and informed understanding of the salary landscape. But what about the role of policy and legislation in addressing salary gaps? Policy and legislation can play a significant role in addressing salary gaps, but they're often overlooked or ignored. By recognizing the impact of policy and legislation on our salaries, you can begin to appreciate the importance of advocacy and activism. One strategy is to educate yourself about the policies and laws that affect your salary. By understanding the legal and regulatory framework, you can begin to make a more informed and effective case for fair and equitable compensation. Another strategy is to get involved in advocacy and activism. By joining forces with others who share your concerns and values, you can begin to create a more just and equitable society. But what about the future of work and the impact of technology on salary gaps? The future of work is uncertain, but one thing is clear: technology will play a major role in shaping our salaries and careers. By recognizing the impact of technology on salary gaps, you can begin to prepare yourself for the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. One strategy is to develop skills that are complementary to technology. By focusing on skills like creativity, empathy, and critical thinking, you can begin to differentiate yourself from machines and automation. Another strategy is to stay adaptable and agile. By being open to new experiences and challenges, you can begin to thrive in a rapidly changing job market. But what about the final takeaway from our discussion on salary gaps? Thanks for watching. If you want to learn more about personal finance and career development, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. In our next video, we'll be exploring the top 5 strategies for investing in your future.